to introduce to you Professor Ismail Simbwa Jagenda, the rector who assumed office at the Islamic University in Uganda on 1st January 2021. He was born on June 16, 1956 in Tendero, Shema district, and he graduated from Makerere University in 1979 with a first-class BA honors in literature and religious studies. He holds a concurrent diploma in education, and he was also the chairman at his time of the Muslim Students Association in Makerere. From 1988 to 2016, he obtained his master's in education administration and supervision from the University of District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. in 1989. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, he joined as an assistant professor at a graduate teacher program at Tiffit College of Education in Mercer University, Atlanta campus, where he taught from 2001 to 2016. He is known for his scholarly works, he is known for his administrative duties, and he is married and blessed with 6 children. His hobbies include reading and recreation, soccer. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the rector of the Islamic University in Uganda, Professor Dr. Ismail Simbwa Jagenda, to come and make his remarks. Thank you.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his ni'mah of good life, of health. May his salawat and barakat be on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Your Excellency, the Assistant Secretary General, Humanitarian, Culture and Social Services of OIC, the Permanent Representative of the Royal Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to OIC, Your Excellency, the Director General, International Union of Muslim Scouts, and other dignitaries from OIC, different agencies, the Mufti of Uganda, represented by the Deputy Mufti, Your Excellencies, ambassadors, diplomatic corps, members of parliament, local leaders, my management, staff, students, and the general public. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today is a historic day. This week has been a historic week. For the first time in the history of Islamic University in Uganda, which is now 34 years old, the Secretariat of OIC has put its light on IUIU, Islamic University in Uganda. Over the past few days, we have had several meetings connected to Islamic University in Uganda. On Wednesday, the management committee of King Fahd Plaza, which is our only endowment now, Waqf, sat. The following day, the University Council sat, chaired by His Excellency Mr. Faisal Abdulaziz Azamel, who hails from Kuwait. We sat in Mbale. The following day, yesterday, over 2,200 young Muslims and non-Muslims from all over the world graduated and joined the world to shape it, to be part of the transformation with the knowledge, skills, and attitudes that they have learned, they've gotten from IUIU. And today, That ceremony was headed, the graduation was headed by the chairman, but also represented by the Secretary General, by the Assistant Secretary General, Science and Technology, Ambassador Askar Masinov. Today, the Secretary General is being represented by the Assistant Secretary General, Humanitarian, Cultural and Social Services, Ambassador Tariq Ali Bakhit. So, OIC has sent 2 distinguished members of the top echelons to be here with us, one after the other. Takbir! Takbir! I don't know what is more important. Is it education or culture? I don't know. I think they are the same level, because if you don't know who you are, then why are you studying? And when you study when you don't know who you are, then it means you can be anything. So yesterday, education was stressed. Today is culture. It's up to you to tell us whether one is more important than the other. As far as I'm concerned, both of them are key to making a human being. And for us Muslims, Islamic culture is non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. We are Muslims, that is it. End of the story. But that doesn't mean that we also don't love the others. Of course, in Uganda, we have Christians in different denominations, and we live side by side in peace. So, we are here to say that we are Muslims and we have different cultures. When you see me dressed like this is the way a Muganda man, Muslim, dresses, especially when they are going for nikah. You know, that's the most important time. So you go like this to beg somebody for the hands of their daughter. For me, I'm already spoken for. Dr. Warda is not here, but I'm allowed 3 others, but that's a different story. But this is the way we dress when we are going for marriage. When you go like this, they know that you're a Muslim Muganda or Muslim Ugandan, because sometimes we borrow from each other. So Sudanese, our kanzu is different. It is doesn't have big arms, because the weather here is a bit cooler. But also this dress is interesting because we are very creative. When the Arabs brought the kanzu, we took it. Then the British brought the coat. We said, why bother? Let us just join the two. And so we got the kanzu from the Arabs and the coat from the British. You will never find a British man dressed like this. And you'll never find an Arab dressed like this. This is Buganda. Very creative. And of course, you know the importance of this one. I don't have to talk about it. So, very creative. But the Nigerians became a little bit more, curious. For them, they created their own, and you'll see it. And the Sudanese decided that the small arms are not good. The big ones are better. And so forth and so forth. You are going to see this creativity as you go around. You are going to see zinzimia, like the one my grandmother used to have. You know, my grandmother was a very different human being. Allah arhamha. Fatima would come to our home, which is a home of an imam, because my father was an imam, and she would come with her own brick. And one day I asked her, are we Catholics? Why are you coming with your own brick? We have brick. Then she said, Ismail, leave me alone. I have to come with my own brick because I don't trust that you'll be, So that is the Muslim culture at that time. They would come with their own bricks because they wanted to make sure that the time of Salah, there is no excuse. She would put the water and keep the brick with her. You know, then you are going to walk around and you are going to see all kinds of interesting artifacts. And then we have guests here who are going to show us Islamic calligraphy. You know, how do you write those beautiful Quranic verses in very artistic way, in a way that inspires the soul? They've come all the way from Morocco, and the head, who is the chief, who is in sits in Turkey, is also here. So we welcome all our international guests. There are over 20 international guests have come to partake of this. But Your Excellencies, our students, the scouts, you have already seen how the scouts have taken over my university beautifully, led by my professor, Katerega, who taught me how to be a good man and a good Muslim a long time ago when I met her at Makerere University. Professor Katerega, I want to thank you. So that is my speech. It is coming from the heart. It is not written. I know some people are saying, well, why is he just talking? I mean, it is from my heart. Is that a problem? I'm speaking from my heart to all of you, and also to thank OIC for having chosen Uganda and IUIU to tell people that we are Muslims and we are different, but we are Muslims. The Somalis dress differently from the Nigerians, but we are all Muslims. The Baganda Muslims dress from the Banubi differently, but we are all Muslims. Diversity, unity in diversity. Unity in diversity. We all believe in La ilaha illallah, all of us. And so I don't want to take much time. The theme is culture, education, and development, experiences from the Muslim world. And the sponsors are OIC, Organization of Islamic Conference, Directorate of Humanitarian, Cultural and Social Services, as well as Islamic University in Uganda. I want to thank the Secretariat, the Secretary General, and the visitors, the Assistant Secretary General, Humanitarian, Culture and Human Resources, the permanent representative of the Royal Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and all the other international guests who are here, including my friend, Professor Osman Murzi Kobo, who came all the way from Paris, where he was on sabbatical, but actually is domiciled in Ohio State University as a professor of Islamic history. He's the one really who is going to come and talk. I should leave talking to the people who know what to talk. And for me, I must thank my team, led by Dr. Halima Akbar, the academic registrar, who took on this committee organizing this, and we were led by officials from Jeddah, the two young men. If you don't mind, come here, please, and stand with me.
Happy to be here with you, brothers and sisters. It's a pleasure to be among you, to participate in this great event. But the whole credit goes to the Islamic University of Uganda. They have done a tremendous effort to get this event happen, and you are all welcome to this event.
What's your name?
My name is Hussein Ghazwi. I'm Director of Culture at the OIC. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all. My name is Galib Husseinov. I also work for Cultural Affairs Department in OIC.
With guidance and arguments and budgets and all that. So all this effort is really the two working together, OIC and IUIU, over many hours of work. And we are here today. Tomorrow we come back here until 1 o'clock. And then in the evening, invited guests will be at Africana Hotel to do the finale. So I welcome you, and now I have the honor to, I think, let me leave it to the organizers. Let me not mess up the program. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcoming the Assistant Secretary General for the Humanitarian, Cultural and Social Affairs under the OIC, His Excellency Tariq Ali Bakhet. You're welcome, sir.
Excellency, the representative of the Ministry of Youth and Sports of the Government of Uganda, Professor Ismail, Rector of the Islamic University in Uganda, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests and delegates, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Allow me first, on behalf of the OIC Secretary General, Excellency Hussein Ibrahim Taha, to express my great pleasure for being here in this beautiful city of Kampala to attend with you this August gathering. So, Mr. Professor Ismail, this statement is from the Secretary General, although it's a written speech, but it's from the heart of the OIC Secretary General. I would like to begin by expressing my profound thanks to the leadership of the Islamic University of Uganda for collaborating with the OIC and for working hard to make this unique cultural event happen. I also want to seize the opportunity to convey the General Secretary's sincere gratitude to the government, the Republic of Uganda, the host country, for the continuous support extended to OIC, and particularly to the Islamic University in Uganda, to enable it to carry out its noble duty of training future leaders and making them good citizens willing to contribute to the development of their homeland. As an affiliated organ of the OIC, I take satisfaction at the commendable work carried out by the Islamic University in Uganda, and I would particularly express my appreciation to His Excellency Professor Ismail, Rector of the University, for his strong sense of leadership and his dedication to uphold the values of Islamic education and culture. The significant work carried out by IUIU is noted, commended, and appreciated. The programs and activities undertaken by IUIU, as well as the outstanding service to the cause of promoting knowledge in the Islamic world, which integrates Islamic values with modern knowledge across all disciplines, are examples of such effective IUIU work. Indeed, the contemporary global crisis, especially in the Muslim world and the region of the OIC geography, have shifted the attention once again to the question of education and its prior contribution to finding the right answers to critical problems. In this regard, IUIU can play a significant role as a leading center of excellence in education, research, and innovation throughout the region in this dynamic of offering quality education and training to Ugandans and African youth in general to build their capacities and reinforce their talents. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, one of the priorities of the OIC General Secretariat is to promote, encourage, and work for more cultural exchange among member states. Such exchange would definitely contribute to enriching our common heritage within the Muslim Ummah and filling the cultural gaps and misunderstandings between Muslims and non-Muslims. We thus hope that this cultural activity will serve as a good example of what should be done to create cultural spaces, multiple interaction venues, and optimal outreach channels to connect Muslim communities within the OIC bigger family. While involving other non-Muslim communities in this positive dynamic of mutual understanding and cooperation. It is obvious that cultural diversity has been recognized as a significant factor for sustainable development and is now being seen as a fundamental element with an important role to play in poverty eradication and the protection and conservation of cultural and historical heritage. Cultural diversity, composed of the wealth of languages, ideas, religions, kinships, customs, and traditions, artistic works, rituals, and other creative expressions, has been a major factor of development. It is also a dynamic process within which cultural change can best be managed through intercultural dialogue. Projecting a true image of our civilization and protecting its values and heritage are also among the main priorities, objectives of the OIC agenda. In this regard, we aim to develop the Islamic University through cultural cooperation between our member states. At the same time, we aim to connect with and assist culturally the Muslim communities and minorities outside the member states as a way to encourage mutual understanding and dialogue with other cultures and share common aspects and the diversities of our heritage towards building constructive dialogues with peoples worldwide. I'm confident that such lofty objectives will be only set in the light of day with the necessary support of our member states. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the OIC believes that education and science are the main tools for human development and well-being, and thus have to be at the top of our agenda and plans of actions. The progress and prosperity of societies also always depend on their investment in education and scientific research. There is a need to equip the youth, women, and children, vulnerable segments of society with proper education and scientific knowledge. Having access to education is not only a necessity, but also the right of every person. In today's world, science and technology offer answers to shared threats of poverty, spread of diseases, climate change, food and water security, among others. Science and technology can also help us in seizing common opportunities in promoting peace and sustainable development. Recognizing this imperative, the first OIC Summit on Science and Technology, held in September in 2017 in Kazakhstan, adopted a 10-year program of action, the OIC Science and Technology and Innovation STI Agenda 2026, which makes recommendations with specific targets for the development of science, technology, and innovation in the Muslim world. Ladies and gentlemen, since the beginning of 2020, the world troubled by COVID-19 pandemic, which had put the entire humanity into serious trouble at levels with expected long-term social, cultural, economic, and political impacts on all segments of our societies, particularly on youth. The engagement of youth at local, national, and global levels has proven to be the most indicative way towards the required concerted global action to effectively address the vast majority of challenges that humanity currently faces, as COVID-19 outbreak and the fight against radicalization and violence. I'm glad to inform you that within the framework of supporting youth, the OIC has adopted the OIC Youth Strategy with significant sustainable policies for the empowerment of youth. The OIC General Secretariat stands thus ready cooperation with all member states as well as institutions and partners working in the field of youth and leadership in many activities that would contribute to strengthening youth capabilities and activating their role in the Islamic world. Finally, I wish also on behalf of OIC Secretary General to express and to wish access to the distinguished IUIU and the leadership, students, and all staff members for their efforts and contributions to the success of this important event. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين القائل: يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من شعوب وقبائل لتعارفوا. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين أيها الإخوة والأخوات، صاحب المعالي مدير الجامعة البروفيسور إسماعيل سنبو، صاحب السعادة الأمين العام المساعد لمنظمة التعاون الإسلامي للشؤون الإنسانية والثقافية، سعادة ممثل وزارة التعليم العالي، صاحب السعادة أمين عام الاتحاد العالمي للكشاف المسلم، فضيلة مفتي أوغندا، أصحاب السعادة أيها السيدات والسادة، أيها الطلاب والطالبات، السلام عليكم. سلام محبة وشكر يشع نورها في فضاء كمبالا سعادة وفرحا. And I'm so sorry to speak in Arabic because my specialization as I am a professor in university teaching Arabics, and this is the holy language as you know. So please allow me to speak in Arabic. أن أمزق هذه الورقة لأنها لا تستطيع أن تتحمل عبارات الشكر والتقدير والامتنان والسعادة لأوغندا وللشعب الأوغندي المضياف، كما أن ما نعيشه وإياكم من حرارة جو جميل هو بلا شك ما وجدناه من حرارة مشاعر ومن استقبال رائع ومن أنشطة وفعاليات جميلة. أصحاب السعادة أيها السيدات والسادة، اسمحوا لي بأن أقول لكم بأن الملابس الجميلة التي نلبسها وحدثنا عنها معالي مدير الجامعة لن يكون لها قيمة أو أثر بعد 5 سنوات لأنها ستبلى. كذلك الكراسي الجميلة الفاخرة التي نجلس عليها الآن قد لا يكون لها فائدة بعد 5 أو 7 أو 8 سنوات، ولكن مثل هذه الأنشطة والفعاليات هي بلا شك سيكون لها أكبر القيمة والفائدة ليس بعد 5 أو 10 بل بعد مئات السنين بإذن الله تعالى للطلاب والطالبات. هذا الموضوع مرتبط بالثقافة والتعليم والتنمية في العالم الإسلامي، باعتبار أن هذا الحدث هو منصة دولية للمؤسسات الثقافية والتعليم العالي. لن ينسى الطلاب والطالبات ولا حتى كوادر الجامعة وأساتذتها هذا النشاط الذي في الواقع بلا شك سوف يترك أثراً لديهم، لا سيما أن هناك موضوعات عن ريادة الأعمال وعن القيادة وبناء القدرات، فهنيئاً للجامعة أن تقوم وتتولى تنظيم مثل هذا الحدث العالمي الرائع. ولذلك نتطلع من خلال هذا الحدث، من خلال تنظيم الجامعة وبحضور هذه الوجوه كلها من البروفيسورات والأساتذة وكذلك الشباب والشابات ومن مختلف الدول، أن نتطلع أن يستفيد الجيل الجديد من هذه الثقافات والتجارب في سبيل بناء جسور من التسامح والتعارف وتبادل أيضا التجارب الرائعة والتقارب ونشر ثقافة التسامح التي هي من قيم الإسلام السمحة. هي بأن المملكة العربية السعودية الذي أنا واحد من أبنائها وأفتخر بذلك، وهي قبلة المسلمين وموئل الرسالة النبوية رسالة الرحمة، قد قدمت للجامعة الكثير من المساعدات المباشرة وغير المباشرة، ونحن إذ نشكر حكومة أوغندا وما قدمته حقيقة من مساعدات وتسهيلات وأرض وأساتذة وكذلك جهود كبيرة في سبيل أن تصل الجامعة إلى ما وصلت إليه من تقدم وازدهار. فالمملكة العربية السعودية كما تعرفون هي أكبر مساهم في ميزانية الأمانة العامة لمنظمة التعاون الإسلامي وفي صندوق التضامن الإسلامي. فهد بلازا إلا جزء من هذا الدعم، وكذلك وجودي بينكم حقيقة رغم كثرة المشاغل إلا تأكيدا لدعم المملكة لهذه الجامعة، وستواصل الدعم بإذن الله لهذه الجامعة لتصل إلى مستويات أعلى. حقيقة أنتم أيها الأساتذة وكذلك الطلاب ورثة الأنبياء كما ورد في الحديث. الثالثة وقبل الأخيرة بأن العالم كما تعرفون يتغير بسرعة والتعليم يتطور بشكل أسرع، لذا يجب أن ننتقل في الجامعة من تقديم المعرفة إلى مرحلة أكثر أهمية وهي التدريب والتعليم وتبادل الخبرات. هذه المعرفة للحياة لدى الطلاب والتركيز على الاقتصاد المعرفي واستثمار كذلك هذا الميدان وما فيه من معطيات في سبيل توظيفها لتدريب وتعليم الطلاب. هذا الانتقال حقيقة من المعرفة إلى تبادل الخبرات والتجارب. فالحكمة الجديدة تقول: قل لي سوف أنسى ولذلك ربما الله أعطانا أذنين ليدخل الكلام من هنا ويخرج من الأخرى، ولكن أرني أشركني معك حتى أفهم وأتقن. ولذلك أنا أؤكد بأن التطبيق والتدريب كما تعرفون هو الدرجة الأولى الآن، وأجزم أنه سيكون له البرامج الأعلى في الجامعة، فهي التي تثري الجامعات وتفيد الطلاب في الوقت الحالي. نفسي وإياهم من أساتذة وطلاب ومسؤولين بإخلاص النية بالعمل، وكذلك أذكرهم بحديث الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم: من سلك طريقا يلتمس فيه علما سهل الله له طريقا إلى الجنة. خالصا لحكومة جمهورية أوغندا وللشعب الأوغندي المضياف، والشكر كذلك الجزيل لا ينتهي لمعالي مدير الجامعة الإسلامية في أوغندا ولزملائه كافة على حسن الحفاوة وكرم الاستقبال والترحيب وجمال الترتيب لهذه الفعالية الرائعة. الأمانة العامة لمنظمة التعاون الإسلامي على حسن التنسيق والمتابعة، ممثلة بهذه الكوادر الرائعة الذين كانوا ينسقون لهذه الفعالية منذ عدة أشهر، وكذلك لجميع والمشاركات من مختلف الدول والجامعات، وكذلك للمنظمات سواء نرسيكا أو الجهات الأخرى أو الاتحاد العالمي للكشاف المسلم، فالشكر لهم جميعا، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
He attained his PhD in history at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 2005. He has served as a visiting professor of African history at Marquette University and Gettysburg College before joining the history department in 2006. He is well known for his research and his teaching, which includes the 20th century West African social and religious history, and has written many books, including Unveiling Modernity in West Africa Islamic Reforms from 1950 to 2000. He has also served and dedicated his time to organizing West African Muslim communities in the city of Columbus. Under his leadership, Muslims from Ghana have their own mosque or purchased their own masjid and created their own madrasa. His commitment to the Muslim communities demonstrated by his initiatives in creating Muslim charters and Muslim elementary schools in the city of Columbus. Ladies and gentlemen, we are indeed privileged and we are indeed honored to have such an esteemed Muslim scholar in our, a Muslim scholar in our midst, a professor in Islamic history. I request you to join hand in listening and asking Professor Kobo Osman Mazrui Murzik. I'll repeat that. Professor Osman Murzik Kobo. We are really, really privileged to have you with us to give the keynote address.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Sister Dr. Halima Akbar, thank you so much for that very generous introduction. Now, Your Excellence, the Rector of IUIU, Professor Jaganda, the staff of IUIU, faculty and students of the university, other patrons and organizers of this event, I invite you to join me in recognizing the presence of highly distinguished guests representing the leadership and patrons of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. There are many other honorable distinguished leaders from various sectors of the government of Uganda, as well as guests who have come here because they value IUIU so much, including me. The fact that these great individuals have traveled long distances to be here is a testimony of how high they regard the place of African Muslim cultures and education in the formation of productive young Muslim youths. We are very grateful to all the guests. Now, it is a privilege and a great honor to have been invited to speak about culture, education, and development. They go together. I would like to pause and comment about what Professor Jaganda said. He described this as Baganda or Uganda, and the one on top as being British. Where is the African? Which one represents the African? And I know the African is there. At any rate, I would like to emphasize the undisputable importance of continuing the support of African Muslim youths in a global environment of cultural fluidity, one that threatens the purity of our faith and the purity of our cultures. That's what I'm going to talk about. In doing so, I will offer a little bit of history. I'm a historian by training. What do you expect? A little bit of history in order to place our current experiences in historical perspectives. I hope to conclude that educating young African Muslims is crucial in preparing Africa's future leaders to be global citizens who will respect other cultures even as they seek to preserve their own, on the spirit of peaceful coexistence among diverse human experiences. But before we proceed, Professor Jaganda asked, what is the difference between education and culture? So I would like to take a moment to define what I mean by culture and education, and to put the two in conversation with each other. Would that satisfy you, sir? By culture, we mean the systems of norms, values, belief systems, customs, laws, morality, cuisine, the food we eat, and knowledge. Knowledge is part of the processes of producing culture as a way for people to identify themselves. And I mentioned knowledge last deliberately because knowledge is the living cell of culture. Knowledge is the living cell of culture. Knowledge creates, sustains, and propagates a specific culture. But knowledge can also be deployed to undermine or destroy a culture. From this perspective, then, whoever controls knowledge controls culture. We are also experiencing the bombardment of discourses of homosexuality. We see that all over the place. It is another culture war that we are facing, and we are afraid our youth may not have the resilience to protect themselves. But I would like to take a step back to challenge us. And I ask, what are we doing about all these challenges that are coming to annihilate our cultures? I want to take the issue of hijab as an example. And I caution you that you would not be happy with what I am going to say. But let us agree in the spirit of Islam to disagree. Let's agree to disagree. I ask, are the owners of Christian schools wrong in prohibiting our children from coming to their schools with hijabs? Are those Christian schools wrong? Don't they too have the right to also protect their cultural space, especially when we consider the fact that they are as vulnerable as we are because they are dependent on institutions in the West, in the Western Christian world, for their own sustenance. And those institutions, Christian institutions in the West, see Africa as the final frontier of preserving their Christian values, when Christian values are declining rapidly in their own societies. Africa is supposed to be the savior. Now I challenge us, instead of being upset with them, why don't we create our own institutions and provide our children with the space for them to learn their deen, acquire the knowledge in an environment that is conducive to our culture? Why don't we do that? In contemplating these provocative questions, I looked at the recent expansions of private universities in Africa and noticed that Muslims are lagging far behind in this new movement. For example, in 2021, Nigeria, the most populous country in sub-Saharan Africa, had 75 private universities, but only 5 or 6 of these are clearly Islamic. Of course, we know northern Nigeria has Muslim institutions, so that might make up for the difference. What about Ghana, a Muslim minority nation? As of 2021, there are 47 private universities, but only 2 are founded by Muslims, 1 by Ahl al-Bayt Foundation. In contrast, more than 70% of the remaining are Christian faith-based universities. There's one of the rector of one of those Islamic universities that are owned by Muslims, and he will testify to what I just said. Now, let me use another example. For Kenya, out of 62 higher educational institutions, only one or 2 belong to Muslims. The case of Uganda is familiar to most of us here. Therefore, when we are deprived of the right to practice our faith in schools founded by faiths other than Islam, for me, that rejection represents a challenge rather than an affront, rather than an insult. It hurts to be rejected, and it's morally wrong to be discriminated against. But the reality remains that when we lack leverage, we will experience blatant injustice, openly or in subtle ways. I have explained that whoever controls knowledge and the means of producing knowledge controls the world. And whoever lacks the capacity to control and employ knowledge to protect itself will be enslaved by those who possess that capacity. We've seen this in history. Muslims lost this hegemony to Western Europe, and since then, we have remained confused, sometimes ambivalently doubting the values of our own cultures. The forces unleashed by Western epistemological hegemony persist until today in the form of massive information machines that are coming at us with jet speed. Our youth and the future generation are therefore vulnerable to these forces of cultural invasion. We need to empower them, as one of the delegates suggested, empower them with authentic and qualitative knowledge produced in an authentic Islamic environment. Let me draw a very quick conclusion. Distinguished guests and distinguished patrons, we humbly place the responsibilities of empowering our youth to preserve our cultural heritage in the hands of the leaders you see here. They have the resources, they have the manpower. I believe they have the political will. But maybe we need to tease that political will in order for them to act. We can serve our deen in the tradition and the traditions it has produced by expanding Islamic schooling throughout Africa, especially in Muslim minority nations such as Uganda, Ghana, Kenya, and many others, but also in the Muslim majority nations. And we should do this with keen attention to quality. We recognize the challenges, including recruiting qualitative faculty, and we can have private conversations about what kind of strategies we may adopt. At any rate, we need more IUIU. We need more IUIU. We need more IUIU. At-Takbir! Why do we need more IUIU? Because we are all witnesses to its success in less than 40 years. In Islam, 40 years is key. They have not, IUIU has not even hit the mark, but it has made tremendous success, progress, in whatever way you want to look at it. And I give the credit partly to those who worked so hard to achieve that objective, but I also give a bulk of the credit for those who initiated it in the first instance, OIC. Those of us who live in the Muslim minority nations know this very well. I was blessed as a child to attend a Presbyterian primary school, an Anglican middle school, and a Catholic secondary school. In the course of all these different stages, attempts were made by my peers to convert me to Christianity. I resolutely defended myself and even worked very hard to win the first prize in Bible knowledge in order to spite my friends and to tell them I am not abandoning my Quran. I used myself as an example, but there are millions of that example. I believe there are some sitting here and there and there and there who have had similar experiences. Only Allah built our tenacities to be able to hold on to our deen. Dear distinguished guests, if I'm talking about this, it is not something we should ignore. Today, as we speak, a large number of Muslims are being converted to Christianity, either because they lacked the knowledge to appreciate their deen, or because they were confused. I, to give another example, have at least 3 people in my huge family who have now become Christians, including a young woman who once upon a time would not even watch television because television was to her haram. And she's now a converted Pentecostalist. How do we protect ourselves? Perhaps we, at this level, may not be that vulnerable, but our youths, our future generation, our youths are vulnerable. Please, let us pay very close attention to them. Let us help them to defend and protect themselves, to preserve their deen in themselves, and to pass that deen on to future generations. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I thank you very much for your kind attention.
The cultural dances and also the poems and the drama here in this venue. So please, if you would like to participate in that, you can stay in this venue. That's where we'll be hosting those events, exhibitions, the cultural dances, the plays, the drama, the poems. We'll be holding them from here. Then the Quran competitions, we'll be having them from the mosque. If you just go out of this venue and you look straight ahead, you'll see where the mosque is. And if you turn to your right, there is a big oval round shaped building. We shall be hosting the presentations from there. So we'll be having the lectures on culture, education and development in that oval-shaped building, and would like you to join us also to listen to the wonderful lectures that will be going on. Thank you very much.
Mama decided kumuyita mama minisita waffe decided
eyabasiramu something it's okay no tukiraga nga kiri era current when the show is airing kiraga nti olunaku lwaleero
You can never succeed in this world unless you have roots. A tree must have roots. A tree that you see with very nice flowers and fruits must have roots. So culture means many things, but the culture are the roots of a human being. Of course, scholars have different definitions. The one I like most is the one that says culture is the way we do things here. The way we do things here. So I've traveled many places over my lifetime. I've gone to Jordan, I've gone to Makkah and spent a year. I was born in Itendero. I went to Mbarara High School, you know. I went to Kabohe Muslim Primary School for Muslims, Muslim founded. I went to Mbarara High School, Anglican. I went to St. Mary's College, Catholic. I went to Makerere, which is public. And they have different ways of doing things. Then I went to America for 28 years, and they do things differently. So culture means, number one, roots. What is your culture? What is your language? What food do you eat? In Itendero, we eat matoke, but we also eat the local meal of kalo. Then the Bahima who have shabwe, we also eat it, some of us. But what does that mean? What does it mean, culture? How can you have somebody who doesn't have culture or who doesn't know his culture? So I think it is dangerous for my child to only know English, and I know that some of our children now only know English, which is not really their language. They are not Englishmen. They are Baganda, they are Basoga, they are Banyagol, but they only know English because we fear that they will not do well. Come on, the Chinese do well, but they speak Chinese. The Arabs do well. So I think we need to really emphasize that a child in Uganda must know their mother tongue. That's why it is called a mother tongue, the tongue of their mother, or the language of their mother, because it anchors them. A ship has an anchor when it comes to the coast. Otherwise, it will go. It will disappear. It will run. So somebody who does not have core culture, it means he can be encultured by somebody else. Everybody has a culture, by the way. Is yours the .com? Are you the .com culture? Or the .com finds you when you are in Uganda, who understands Mpisa, Nunji, Ubuntu Bulamu, you know? So we must not kid ourselves. This exhibition is important because it is saying that Muslims in Nigeria dress in a certain way. You can see them. You can see them. You put your camera on them. That's the way they dress. But I also dress like this. A bit similar but different. This is Zanzibari, but look at theirs. But it is saying the same thing, but in a different way, and in a beautiful way. So I think education, culture, development must be the same. Let me propose this theory. Without education, without culture, cannot lead to development. Or it will lead to distorted development. We cannot allow the 21st century technologies to take over our culture. Instead, we should utilize the 21st century technologies to enrich our culture as we develop. I think that summarizes it. Yes, Salaam alaikum.